Welcome back, everybody. All right, our next tech talk will be with Steven from VCE, talking about automating workflow
orchestrating non-VMware workloads with vCenter Orchestrator.
All right, sounds great. All right, it's all you, Steven.
Thanks, Josh. So, hi guys, I'm Steve Bryen from VCE. This isn't a VCE pitch. It's an open session. I'm going to talk about integrating VMware vCenter Orchestrator into all kinds of different third-party tools. So, if you guys know vCenter Orchestrator today, you're probably well aware of the VMware integration out there. The community is pretty thriving right now with information about vCenter Orchestrator and what you can integrate with. So here's just a snapshot of what VMware tools vCenter Orchestrator integrates with. So I'm sure you guys have seen this. If you've done the hands-on labs, you've probably seen a bunch of information around this. You've probably actually been into vCenter Orchestrator and maybe created some workflows, maybe ran some workflows, and you're probably talking to these tools, right? And this is great because VMware wrote some plugins that integrate with their tools, and there's workflows out of the box, right? But what I want to talk about is how vCenter Orchestrator allows you to orchestrate your bigger kind of business cloud workflows. And orchestration really is about talking to multiple IT systems. So the VMware plugins are great, but we're going to talk about expanding on that and what other vendors have done and what you can do yourself to integrate with vCenter Orchestrator. So there's some third-party plugins from some other companies outside of VMware, and this is really the start of when you start building your orchestration workflows and developing your workflows. Now, these companies here have got some pretty cool plugins. Microsoft have an Active Directory plugin, which is very useful. VC and EMC work together to develop a plugin to orchestrate the vBlock system. Cisco have a UCS Manager plugin as well. So you can see here we're starting to talk about physical provisioning as well. BMC have a plugin for Remedy. So now you're looking at your bigger kind of business workloads and how you need to automate those. When you provision a VM, right, do you need to raise a change for that, right? Do you need to talk to BMC, right? If you receive an alert from vCenter, should you programmatically raise a ticket in BMC, right? You can start to integrate all your VMware tools with these third-party systems. What's also great about these plugins is that there's pre-built workflows, again, just like the VMware plugins, that allow you to pretty much drag and drop workflows into the workflow designer. It's a pretty intuitive interface, and you don't have to do any development work, right? You can drag and drop a provision Cisco UCS Blade, for example, and job done, right? You could provision UCS Blade, and then you could do all sorts of stuff with VMware after that, all in the same workflow, right? So you're really starting to be able to integrate VMware with all of these third-party tools as well. But what's really great is if you go beyond that and you think, what else can we integrate with? What other tools do I have, right? I've got this tool, it doesn't have a plugin, right? I want to go and inspect my Outlook calendar to drag out all my invites for the next week, and I need to go and then email all the attendees, right? This is totally non-VMware stuff, but there's a handful of plugins here that I'm going to talk about each one briefly that allow you to really start looking at the bigger picture. Now, what's different in these plugins from the third-party plugins is that you're pretty much writing your own code here to develop against third-party systems, right? So, first off, here in the top left, you'll see the SOAP plugin, right? And then on the top right, you'll see the REST. So, SOAP and REST are web services that pretty much, with the kind of software-defined data center, all tools and products now have some kind of API or interface that you can talk to. Now, there's a SOAP and a REST plugin in VCO, and it's free. You can download it on the VMware website, that allows you to pretty much talk to any of these systems and execute requests against their APIs. Another interesting plugin is the SNMP plugin. So vCenter Orchestrator can sit and listen and react to SNMP alerts. So you start to think about the possibilities there when you can react to an alert and do something, right? And we'll talk about some use cases shortly. There's an email plugin, so if you need to send email, that kind of stuff, there's a mail plugin. AMQP is quite interesting, so for messaging, so things like vCloud Director can send AMQP messages, which vCenter Orchestrator can listen for and then react. So if you're a service provider, for example, or you have a private cloud and you're exposing vCloud Director to your customers, but you don't want to change that, right? So your customer can go in and provision a virtual machine in vCenter vCloud Director, and the AMQP message gets sent to Orchestrator, and nothing actually happens until it receives that alert. And then what Orchestrator does is, in the background, it could go and raise a change request, right? It could go and close that change request once it was done. It could add the item into your CMDB, right? So you're still only exposing the vCloud interface to your customers, which they all know and love, but you're able to actually still do those business processes in the background by integrating via the AMQP plugin. Now, the bottom two corners talk about the SSH plugin and the PowerShell plugin. Now, these two, for me, are pretty much just as powerful as the top two with the SOAP and the REST plugins, right? You can, with these four plugins, the SOAP, the REST, the SSH, and the PowerShell, you can pretty much integrate with any IT system, right? Now, it may not be as object-orientated as using a fully coherent API, but Microsoft have done a lot of work with PowerShell. A lot of you guys are probably PowerShell guys, so anything you can talk to a PowerShell that doesn't already have a plugin, you can now start using the PowerShell plugin to execute against those interfaces. And likewise for SSH, so you can now orchestrate anything that has a command line pretty much. So piecing all that together, what are the possibilities? So here's just some use cases of the possibilities that you can do when you start thinking about how you can integrate third-party systems with vCenter Orchestrator, right? So SMS alerting, right? You could sign up to an SMS provider that has a REST API that will send SMS alerts on an API call to their service. So now you can start saying, well, when I receive an SNMP trap into vCenter Orchestrator, it sits and waits and triggers a workflow that then goes and sends an SMS alert against the REST API of your SMS provider. So that's one use case. Desktop as a service is another use case. There's no plugin for VMware View right now with vCenter Orchestrator, but with that PowerShell plugin, you're able to integrate with that system and start orchestrating, deploying desktop pools, that kind of stuff. Now, God forbid you have a Zen desktop environment, you could orchestrate that too, right? vCloud Director and Backup has been something in the community that people have had a lot of concerns around. But with VCO, you're able to integrate with your backup systems API or interface and start backing up those virtual machines seamlessly, because you can integrate with vCloud and your backup system. Some guys out here might have multi-hypervisor infrastructures. You might have legacy kind of infrastructures, maybe with Spark or Power, non-x86 kind of environments. Now, you can start looking at how can you overlay your whole infrastructure. This is quite interesting for outsourcers and systems integrators who typically take on lots of infrastructure from their customers, and they need to manage not only the new modern infrastructure they're implementing, but they need to manage their existing legacy infrastructure as well. We spoke about this earlier, expecting Exchange mailboxes, calendars, so you can do that via the Exchange Web Services API, which is a SOAP API that Microsoft created. Now looking at kind of non-VMware stuff, onboarding new AD users, right? It's something that you might want to automate depending on the scale of your business, and your business may already do that, but onboarding new AD users. When a new user joins your business, how do you orchestrate creating them an email account, creating them an Active Directory user, that kind of stuff? VCO's there, it's in with vCenter, why not use that tool that you already have to start orchestrating that? And the bottom one's kind of my favorite here is you can react and kind of burst your environment from alerts that you receive from your infrastructure. So you can receive an alert from a cluster saying, we're running out of resource, and you can just kick off a provisioning workflow that provisions a new host into that cluster. Now, you could also run a workflow that's scheduled to run every hour and say, how's my cluster looking? How much capacity am I using? Right? And then if the capacity is less than 5 blades worth, you only need 4 blades worth, go and decommission that blade, put it back in the pool, right? Give it to somebody else to use. So you can start bursting and scaling up and down your environment just by integrating with these third-party systems. So So that kind of summarizes my talk. Thank you for listening. I think I've got 14 seconds left, so that was pretty good. So thank you for listening.
Thanks, Steve. That was excellent.